I will get close.
Hello and welcome to DIY Therapies. As always, we'll start with our disclaimer. This podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not designed to diagnose or treat. When beginning any exercise program, it should be reviewed and discussed with your medical professional prior to beginning. Information on this podcast is not designed to replace medical treatment. My name is Will. With me, as always, is Andy.
Hello, William. How are you doing?
So, this is your new radio voice?
Yes.
Or podcasting voice?
The entire time I'm going to talk like this.
That'll be amazing.
Yes.
Do you think you can keep it up?
I'm going to try.
I don't think you can do it.
I can do it.
No, you just did it.
No,
Yeah.
I can do it. I can do it. We are doing this. What are we talking about today, William?
Ankle strain?
Why do you question like you don't know what an ankle strain is?
Because I'm tired and I can't remember if we were going to talk about ankle strain or ankle sprain.
Both.
There's a difference between the two, though.
There is. So
that's probably something that people don't know is that an ankle, when you strain your ankle and you sprain your ankle, those are two separate injuries.
Yes. Yeah. So an ankle, I already lost my radio voice.
I knew it.
Dang it. That didn't take long. Right when I went into regurgitating facts. So an ankle strain is actually going to be when we are working with a muscle. Okay, so like a muscle or a tendon is actually being strained. Okay,
yes.
An ankle sprain, okay, with a P, sprain, is going to be when we have more of a ligament issue.
Yep.
So the truth of the matter is if you're looking at ankle strain, ankle sprain, for the most part, they're really being treated the same way.
Yeah, it's kind of what we talked about previously with imagery. People are really obsessed about getting their image on what's wrong, but from our point of view, it's like, well, we're going to kind of treat this the same thing.
Yeah, unless, of course, there is dramatic surgical type of need.
Then you wouldn't even be seeing us anyway.
Yeah, let's back up. This is for your common ankle sprain, strains. You roll your ankle.
Yeah, you're out walking or running or something like that. You roll your ankle real quick, and it swells up. And we're not talking like super swollen. We're just like, you can't move it. You can't, but it's like it's a little bit tender. But it's like, crap.
Yeah, or sometimes you can have, individuals who have kind of chronic ankle strains or sprains.
Yeah, I went to high school like that who literally would strain his ankle every...
Yeah. Actually, I just treated a guy probably about 3 months ago that was... he was a construction worker, and even in his
high boots,
steel-toed boots, he would, every time he was on uneven surface walking, like along a
ravine or a bank,
something of that nature, he would roll the ankle, and we'll get into this later, but we went through the whole treatment process of stabilizing, managing pain, stabilizing, then working on proprioception, which is essentially the process, right?
Yep.
So we start off with, if there is an acute or a recent ankle sprain / strain, what we're going to do is we're going to ice, elevate.
Yeah, do the rice.
Okay.
Rest, ice, elevate.
Maybe a little bit of compression if needed to try to get some of that swelling out of there. Elevation I always think is really important for lower extremity injuries, and elevation above the heart is really important because
this is a really uncommon, or not uncommon. It's really common for people to underthink elevating it. So a lot of times when you talk to people about elevating it, they'll think, I can sit in my recliner and just put the feet out, and it's above my foot is elevated, and it's above my heart. No.
Negative.
You need to be where your heart is in relation to where your extremity is. Your heart needs to be lower. So that means the best way to do it is like either lay in your bed or lay on a couch or something like that, and then get that foot or lower extremity up.
Yeah. The way I usually describe this, and why this is actually important, is because of just gravity. Okay.
Yes.
So
you describe it as a river too.
No, I don't.
Go ahead. I use the river analogy. So it's like,
this better be good.
It's not very good.
Okay.
So you got a mountain, and if we're saying your injury is the you're laughing because this is and you were saying your injury is the top of the mountain, yes. and your heart is where the water wants to go. Is it where you want the water to go? If you're only sitting and you're in the recliner and you have your foot out, then the mountain's only going to drain down to your pelvis, right? But if you're laying down flat, then the gravity will take the water from the top of the mountain all the way down.
You lost me at mountain.
You were never involved. You never bought into that at all. Anyway,
I wasn't paying attention. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you use it then?
Well, I just straight up tell them it's more along the lines of, if you are, it's basic gravity, right? So fluid is going to just drain down into the lower limb in general. Okay. And the only way to get the fluid out is to get it elevated above the trunk / the heart so that it will just drain back down to the heart.
I can see why people would be confused by mine. Mountain, water, getting off there, and yours like, simple gravity.
Are we going here?
No.
Let's fight. Let's do this. I got a good 100 pounds on you. Especially these days.
I'm Scrappy? The annoying Scrappy dog from Scooby-Doo?
Wiry and scrappy, right?
I'm sure.
Sure, why not? But anyways, the through all of that, get it elevated above the heart. That's going to, again, get some of the fluid that's already down there out, okay? Yep. If we're just getting it elevated, say like on the coffee table or something like that, it may help to not have as much fluid drain down into the extremity, but it's not going to get in the current fluid that's in the extremity
it'll kind of stop the current where it is.
Yeah.
It might, because of that, make it feel better because of
the current where it is.
Are you implying because of the current, because of water?
Your mountain analogy. Okay, so anyways,
what does a mountain have to do with, unless it's an underwater mountain with a current? What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, so then ice, obviously, from a just pain management standpoint, that's going to help to alleviate some pain.
And it will help with the swelling.
Yeah, and if you're not, non-weight bearing, okay, because that's another option. You could always actually go to non-weight bearing if it's really bad to take some of the pain off of it. But most likely you won't be non-weight bearing.
From our purposes, yeah. If you're going non-weight bearing, you would have seen a doctor at this point.
Yeah, and so at that point, the icing is going to help some of that repetitive stress that we just take with every single step.
Yep.
So that's going to help kind of decrease the irritation, decrease the inflammatory response, which is going to be good for you. And then from there, really at that point, what we try to do is we try to initiate just some gentle range of motion exercises. Mm-hmm. This would be simple things such as ankle pumps, just pumping the toes up and down.
Yeah, so you're laying down or sitting down or get your feet up and you're just literally like pressing on the gas, letting off the gas, pressing on the gas, letting off the gas.
Yep. And typically I tell people to do this think of it more of like a time frame than counting, so maybe a minute.
If you're watching standard TV and there's a commercial that comes on, I usually just say just do it for one. Who does that,
by the way?
I don't know.
If
some people do.
Do you think our audience is podcast people? Do you think they're watching standard TV?
I don't know. Email or tweet at us to let us know if you actually watch standard TV and you actually watch the commercials. But either way, if you're watching a commercial, you just do it for one commercial or two, because it's usually 30 seconds ish for
30 60 seconds, something like that.
But honestly, it's so easy. Generally, you just do it for the whole.
Just get used to doing it.
20 minutes of commercials that you have to watch.
And then we do circles.
Yep.
Okay, so now you're not just working in that up and down plane. Okay, you're kind of working into all the planes, and then you can also do what's considered inversion and eversion, which is basically just pulling the toes and the whole ankle in, and pulling the toes and the whole ankle out.
Yep.
Okay, and then lastly, you would be doing something like the alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
Alphabet.
Mm-hmm. Alphabet.
Yes, ABCs.
A, B, C, D.
Backwards.
Oh, I can't do that.
In Greek.
I don't even know what zeta? Is that what the
no
Z
idea.
is? I don't know.
Yeah, you lost me.
Zeta. Oh, no, omega. Oh, that was dumb.
Okay. So, all of those things. Maybe,
I am the alpha and omega, the beginning and the end.
This
omega,
is true.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it.
Where's that? Is that Latin?
I don't know. They're both dead languages, aren't they?
I took Latin.
No, wait, Greek's not dead.
No, Greek is definitely not dead. And I took Latin in high school. It never helped me.
Yeah, but you went to a Catholic high school, so that kind of had to. It wasn't that long ago before they were still doing mass and full on Latin.
No, they have not been doing mass in Latin for a while.
No,
they still do offer them. They still do offer them.
Yeah,
I do
but
know that.
It wasn't that. And what I'm saying is, it wasn't that long ago that they were doing it.
Well, yeah, I think like 50s and 60s.
Yes,
though. Yeah,
which is nuts to me.
Yeah. Okay, so that would be like the introduction to motion. That would be like the introduction to movement. You're not pushing through a lot of pain. All those things you can adjust. If it hurts to do your ankle pumps and pulling all the way up, all the way down, then just do halfway.
Stay within the pain-free range.
Yeah, stay with it, and you can push that limit a little bit, but don't be hurting yourself or feeling more pain. 30, 40, 50 minutes later.
Right.
Next step would then be to really introduce like a TheraBand or some type of strengthening or isometric exercises.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, you want to describe those?
Isometric means an isometric exercise, which is basically you're pushing against something without it moving. So the way I was going to describe it is like you walk up to a wall and you try to push the wall, right? That's an isometric exercise for all the muscles that are involved. So in relationship with your ankle, you'd be like if we're going the E version, which is
pulling the ankle
out. Sorry, I'm tired. E version, you're going out. So you
tired or dumb, one or the other.
You'd find something that you could press your foot against and kind of push about 50, 60, depending on how much it hurts and how much where you're at, percent into it, hold it for about a 10 count or whatever, and then relax. And you do that 10 times.
Yeah.
And then you do that for you can do that for any of the motions.
Yeah, pulling up, pushing down. Yeah. Yep. So introduction to that. If you have a TheraBand, you can certainly do a TheraBand. You can still
a TheraBand is basically a rubber band that gives you like resistance.
So you can use that as a little bit more resistance, and that starts to actually move the whole muscle or the whole joint through the range of motion. So that's the difference between like using a TheraBand and an isometric. Isometric, you're just it's a stagnant position, and then
which in a lot of ways is kind of what the ankle does. At least inversion, eversion.
Yeah, there isn't as much. It's more for balance versus more for
you need
functional motion.
You need that. Yeah, you need that. You don't need a lot of strength, like power strength. You just need
coordination.
Yeah.
So that's the next phase would be that strengthening phase. And then finally, we would be introducing more of a proprioception. Weight bearing proprioception. And someplace in the middle there too, if you're having trouble weight bearing, we could do some weight shifting where you're putting some weight through your arms and kind of shifting side to side in front of the kitchen counter.
Slow dance. You're kind of doing a junior high slow dance with your kitchen counter.
Yep. It's hot.
Is it?
I don't know. I just felt like that.
I mean, it's hot if you're standing next to the stove. Boom, boom.
Wow. No wonder we have such a good fan base.
Yeah, we don't. It's our parents. I'm fairly confident my mom listening rolled her eyes. If I listen hard enough, I'll hear it.
So then we do some proprioception, which could be anything from like heel-toe rocking on standing at the kitchen counter again. It could be anywhere from putting our feet together and standing with our feet real close together and kind of holding that for 30, 40 seconds. It could be anywhere from kind of standing heel-toe, like with the heel and toe pressing up against each other as if you're walking on a line. You could do something like walking a line.
I usually kind of start with like standing like there is a tightrope there. Just standing with your feet like that and just stand there. You're able to do that fairly easily. Then you progress to the walking.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll even have people kind of weight shift onto the front leg first, or weight shift backwards, which helps to kind of again just
engage
get those little receptors, kind of knowing where that joint is, because that's what really kind of happens with the ankle is eventually, like the way that I describe people with ankle issues is it's kind of like your autocorrect for your balance. If you're standing and on one foot, you can kind of see that all those little muscles are contracting, and that's kind of your autocorrect for your balance.
That's a good way to put that. I like that.
Yeah.
Wow, you actually came up with a good one.
I know. Well, occasionally, and so so if you've injured your ankle, what ends up happening is your autocorrect is just all wonky. It's not. It's delayed. It's not putting in the right word, and so on and so forth. So proprioception helps to kind of correct that when we train that way. Now all of a sudden your muscles and the joints or the muscles and tendons are actually contracting at a pace that's allowing you to keep up and keep your balance.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you don't need to think about balance. Mm-hmm. It's just it's happening.
So single leg stance then would be another one that you could do.
Yeah, that's kind of advanced.
Yeah, and then so that would all be again 30 to 45 to 60 seconds. So a lot of the ankle stuff I look at more of just a time frame.
Yeah.
And if you're in like trying to get back to something where you're, say, like my construction guy who we kind of talked about earlier, he was on his feet all day long. So you're looking at just increasing that time frame that you're doing all of these things, just increase the endurance, tolerance, etc. Yeah. So, but that is really the kind of down and dirty, just exercise progression of start to finish when you have that acute issue, all the way to where the pain starts to get a little bit better, increase some strengthening, and then
a lot of it can overlap.
Absolutely.
So by that I mean, you may have progressed past. You're doing the standing exercises and stuff like that, but you could still be doing the ankle circles, and when you're laying down watching a show, doing ankle circles and stuff like that, the ankle pumps and stuff like that.
Yeah,
to kind of just help, because you still might be getting swelling, and that'll help get this swelling out, because the way your calf works, it actually works as a pump.
Yeah.
So it helps pump the fluid out. Yeah.
And I think another thing, like in my experience, what I found with people is that they tend to do fairly well, and they're kind of working it on their own, and then all of a sudden they do something, they roll it again or tweak it again, and they backslide, right?
Yeah.
And then they panic and they don't do anything again. Remember, this is always on a continuum. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So all you have to do is just keep adjusting the exercises based upon your tolerance level and based upon your needs. Don't give up, even if you have a setback.
Yeah, it's a line in the sand. It moves daily because of the tide. Sometimes it's farther, sometimes it's not, and you just have to deal with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is there anything that people could add?
Yeah, so there's other things that you could also do if you're having some more pain. If you're trying to kind of continue to go through some of your everyday activities, or if you're trying to continue to go to work through some of the pain, you can
especially like a standing job.
Yeah, so you could get a brace. We actually offer a DIY therapy brace, which basically applies compression. I'm not a big fan of a brace that completely restricts the entire movement.
No, because that. Again, we kind of talk about braces like that, where it's like if your joint will become over reliant on it and shut down.
Yeah, it then atrophies. The muscles don't weak. You lose the coordination.
Yeah. You still kind of want, like, not necessarily a compression sock, but something that kind of help support everything.
Yeah. So we do offer a compression / brace that gives what I would call kind of a moderate support. It's kind of that in between where you don't need like that rigid support, but also gives you a little bit additional just proprioception. Because when we have compression and extra support, sometimes that does increase proprioception. But if you add too much, then you don't use it at all.
It's almost
so
like
it's kind of, you need that middle ground.
Yeah, it's almost like wearing a high top. But you don't. Who actually wears high tops anymore?
I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why it may not be a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'll put a link to that in the show notes and description.
Yeah. So sometimes if you're having either chronic issues, or if you're worried about, okay, I sprained my ankle over the weekend and I've got to work again, and I'm just worried about re-injuring it, this can be a nice little aid to allowing you to introduce activity without agitating it.
Or you're you have a big thing planned this weekend, and you're going to be doing a lot of walking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, braces, we talked about this with a couple other products. Braces aren't necessarily the end all be all. They're there as an adjunct treatment to kind of help you along.
It is a middle of the thing that you're going to use for a little bit. Not throw away, but you're gonna throw it in a. After a while, you're not gonna need it.
You're gonna put it in a drawer.
Yeah, and then you're gonna keep it because on the off chance that
you re-injure it.
Yeah, it's nice to have those kind of things because it doesn't go bad.
Yeah. I think that covers it all.
You'd think the ankle would be way more complicated, considering what it does and but it's.
No, at the end of the day, it's about everything we've always talked about. It's about understanding where you're at in the healing process and understanding your limitations, not going through those limitations, and kind of preparing your body for success for the next stage.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and at the end of it's not one of these things where it's overcomplicated. It can certainly be if you have like a ton of structural damage, but again, the common ankle sprains and strains, there usually isn't huge structural damage. It's just over.
Yeah, you kind of quote unquote tweaked it.
Yeah. So most of these things can be healed. Most of these things don't have to be chronic problems, and hopefully some of the tips that we've given you here today.
If you tweak it, and you don't follow a lot of these things, it can become a chronic
Oh,
problem.
absolutely. Yeah. If you ignore all the signs.
You look at it like it'll just go away, and you just continue along the way doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So time frame for this thing could be anywhere from really a week to 10 days, all the way to 4 to 6 to 8 weeks.
It depends on
depending on the severity of it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just like like it literally resolve itself like that night.
Well, and it also depends on how much you're continuing to expose yourself to it. That's why like a brace can, if you are in a position where you have to continue to expose the ankle, then a brace can be advantageous for this.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I think that kind of concludes it. We also, just a reminder, we also offer actual consultations to help kind of walk people through this process if you do have any issues. So you can always contact us via our website.
At DIYtherapy.net.
And
you can also email us at DIYtherapy206@gmail.com, and you can... I'm fairly active, being goofy on Twitter personally. we put up pictures and for usually pictures of the exercises we talk about on Instagram and.
What's your Twitter handle?
DY Therapy.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Not DIY. That was taken.
Oh.
I don't think anyone's using it, but I'm also not going to pay somebody to.
No.
So I'm just DY Therapy. It's at DY Therapy.
Do yourself.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Is this explicit now? Do I have to hit the E?
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Maybe we can edit that out.
I'm gonna
not a chance.
If you're listening to this, I didn't edit it out.
Absolutely not.
This podcast was for educational purposes only. It is not designed to diagnose or treat. When beginning any exercise program, it should be reviewed and discussed with your medical professional prior to beginning. Information on this podcast is not designed to replace medical treatment. Remember, treat yourself.